So you see, Sammy, like the Midwest is like that. And I used to go to the Hall of Fame all the time. I used to go every year, and it was a lot of fun. And I would implore anybody who is contemplating going to the Hall of Fame, well, they should have done it this year. You could probably still drive down and get tickets for the enshrinement. I would encourage anybody. The weekend is still just starting. And one of the things with the Hall of Fame, like the end of the week used to be the game. Like the game would be on Sunday or Monday or whenever the Hall of Fame festivities stopped. But the thing of it now is because one year the on-site concert and the Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony tore up the field so badly that they're like, you know what, we better do this first. Let's lead off with the game. We'll do the Hall of Fame stuff later. So if you're on the fence, if you still have the opportunity to drive down to go to the Hall of Fame, to go check everything out, it is such a great event to go to. I would actually encourage that if you could, and I would encourage you to stick around because, Sammy, let's go ahead and start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Adam Ray.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
The sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
It's Thursday night. You know what that means. The NFL season is officially back. We are now having football games from now until February. It is a great time to be alive. I love everything that's going on. Once football comes back, and regardless of whether the players, the starters are out there or not, just seeing the Bears uniforms, just seeing real NFL football. I mean, heck, even listening to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, it is a welcome reprieve. So it was so much fun tonight. And I had a blast watching that game. It was honestly, it was such a good time. And I'm so excited to be back. And also for the podcast. Now, we've had some big announcements coming up over the last couple of weeks, and we've been waiting to tell you. I'm going to tell you about the first one right now about Windy City Sports Cards. Now, this place, they specialize in buying and selling all things related to Chicago sports. Whether you're a diehard fan of the Bears, Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, or Blackhawks, they've got you covered with an extensive series of sports memorabilia and collectibles. In addition to all their Chicago-focused items, they also offer a vast collection of sports trading cards and memorabilia from your favorite teams and players. Visit their online store to find exactly what you are looking for to complete your collection or discover new favorites. They pride themselves on providing top-notch customer service and ensuring that every transaction is smooth and satisfactory. And sports cards are something that I grew up with. And recently, I had to go down to the bank that I grew up going to back in the day. And I still have a safety deposit box, and they're changing locations. So I had to go to it. And somebody was asking me, hey, what do you got? What's in this safety deposit box? And I'm like, Ken Griffey Jr. Rookie cards that I got to go and get out. Oh, I have the upper deck ones. I'm sure they're not as expensive as they were back in the day, but still something that back in the day, it was such a prized possession that it belonged in the safety deposit box. But in any event, let's talk a little bit, though, about what happened on Thursday night. Now, obviously, some people might be disappointed that we didn't get an opportunity to see Caleb Williams. Now, if you caught me with Greg Braggs on Monday night, I believe it was. Now, him, Corey Wooten, and I were on the CHGO After Dark. And in case you missed that announcement, Greg Braggs is going to be with us quite a lot this season. He is going to be joining us weekly to talk about the Chicago Bears, a collaboration that a lot of you have demanded and asked for. And listen, I know that a lot of you really enjoy those shows, and we can see the numbers and everything like that. So we're excited to have Braggs on, a couple of meatballs talking football. And as part of the forbidden door, as Tony Khan would say, I will be appearing more and more on CHGO shows. And so there's a lot to look forward to. I really love collaborating with those guys. the one thing that I really appreciate about the Chicago Bears fan base and everybody who goes out there and creates content for the Bears is like, it seems like everybody gets along. Like, it's cool to see everybody like going on CHGO, the tape never lies, all that stuff. We all have the best interest of the Bears at heart. And you know what? As a fan of the team, you can pick and choose. Like, there are some people that speak to you. Some people might prefer one show over the other, whatever. Like, there's no real like competition. I think it's more camaraderie, a lot of differentiating opinions, and I think it's a great thing. And so we're so excited to be able to share that with you, and a lot of things looking forward. One thing that we would have loved to have seen tonight, though, was Caleb Williams. And as I mentioned, we talked about this on Monday night. Now, Caleb did go out there. He dressed. He was in uniform. So if Caleb Williams ever does end up in the Hall of Fame, we can go back to this night and be like, well, there he is in uniform, ready to go. He's in a Chicago Bears uniform in Canton, Ohio. Now his career is punctuated by being enshrined in the Hall of Fame. And I'm not trying to put the cart before the horse. I'm not a Packers fan who have already been enshrining Jordan Love into the Hall of Fame. No. I understand what that is. I'm just saying that, we're wish casting, so to speak. But one of the things I really would have loved to have seen this evening was for Caleb Williams to get an opportunity to start. Now, even though he was dressed and everything, we saw him in uniform. There is something about being the starter of an NFL team in an NFL game. So many things that go on behind the scenes that you don't even think about. Now, I remember the first time that I started really doing stand-up comedy. And this is after I did the Greek Man of the Year and did some contests and everything like that. But I'm talking about the first time I went up in a comedy club. It was the Irvine Improv. And so they were going to give me a couple of minutes. They're going to give me 5 minutes, like nothing major. But one of the reasons that was important was because there's so many things that go on behind the scenes as you're getting ready to perform. Like, you want to know, like, hey, the comic in front of you is going to get the light at 4 or 5 minutes, whatever it is, 2 minutes even. You want to know where you want to be on stage. You want to be able to figure out, how am I walking onto stage? Am I coming around the side? Am I going through the center? What am I doing? What joke am I opening up with? What am I like? Where do I need to be? When am I going to the bathroom? Now, I've mentioned before that I'm a nervous tinkler. I need to know. I would always go up to the sound guy and be like, hey, how many minutes does this comic have? 8 minutes? Okay, I'm going to the bathroom. Come out. And then when that comic would get lit, I would walk over to I would always enter from the side. I would go up there and sit at the side of the stage, and I would sit there and watch. And actually, when you go to some comedy clubs like the Brea Improv, you can see the clock. So if a comic was ever running the clock, I would actually sit off the side and let them know, like, hey, you're holding up the whole show. So show some respect. But there's a lot of things that go on in addition to just going up and telling jokes. And similarly, when you're an NFL quarterback, there are things and routines that you want to go through and kind of get down. Like, we want Caleb to go through the motions of what it's like. And obviously he got dressed and everything, but like, it's different when you're actually going out to play and when you're getting ready to go out there and call plays, and even hearing the plays come down through the booth. Like, if you ever think about that, if you ever listen to a play call, like if you ever go back and watch John Gruden, going over plays with players and how long it is just to take a call, when you see the quarterbacks holding their ears, going through those type of things. So even if Caleb was going out there and handing the ball off 3 times, and we're trying to get him off the field, we don't want him out there getting injured. That's fine. But at the same time, I would like him to go through the mechanics of everything that's involved with being a starting quarterback, including taking the call, directing the huddle, doing all sorts of things. Now, we know that Caleb Williams has expressed some leadership qualities. We've all heard about him asking players not to litter and things like that. And by the way, I know some of the olds didn't really appreciate Caleb Williams doing that, but it is actually something that we see with a lot of the younger athletes. And I think the most notable one was Shohei Ohtani. When he was a member of the Angels, he was always conscientious of picking up trash in the dugout. Now, I'm sure that he's with the Dodgers. He doesn't care. And you become a different person when you become a Dodger. But when he was with the Angels, he was very much courteous and respectful, and Caleb Williams is trying to extend that. I don't care if it's a rookie or not. I think it's a great thing. But ultimately, Matt Eberflus decided he was not going to go out there and not going to get any of the reps, and he was going to sit there on the sideline. And, of course, he did have the ear in, and he's listening to the play calls, but it's not the same when you're not out there and the television cameras are on and everybody's looking at you, everybody's watching you. The entire football world is watching. And Matt Eberflus decided he was not going to put Caleb out there under this kind of situation. And maybe it's for the best. Like maybe, because anything that he would have done poorly would have been overly dramatized or whatever. Like people would have nitpicked it to death. So maybe there is some method to Matt Eberflus's madness right there. And perhaps he did the right thing. But ultimately, if it was up to me, and if I was making the call and I was out there, I would have been like, hey, look, I'm going to have Caleb take 3 snaps, run the ball with Roschon Johnson. And if Roschon Johnson is still gaining yards like he was, I would have just kept handing the ball off. Maybe a play action. But ultimately, I would have put him out on the field. I think it would have been good for the league. It would have been good for the NFL and everything like that. Now, I will get an opportunity to hopefully ask Matt Eberflus about that because I will be in Chicago on Tuesday. I will be there at camp, hopefully locking down a couple of interviews. I'm working on a couple of pieces for NFL.com. So I'm going to go and hopefully talk to a couple of Bears. I don't want to spoil it right now. And I will also be producing content for the Sick podcast here. And so it'll be a lot of fun. So if you're out of camp on Tuesday, keep an eye out for me. I'll wave hi. I'll sign some autographs. I'll do whatever, take some selfies, do whatever you want to do. Just flag me down. I'll come out and do it. And so I will be out there in Chicago on Tuesday, which will be a lot of fun. And one of the many things that we're excited about this season. Also want to say this too. The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is coming to Illinois. The Circa Sports app is sports betting the way it should be. Big app bets, high betting limits, tight money line spits, and the best customer service is in the Circa Sports app in Illinois, which is coming soon. Visit circasports.com for more details. Get ready to start betting like a pro. If you or someone you know may have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or text ILGAM to 833-234. And if you have any history, if you've ever been out to Las Vegas and you haven't been out to the Circa Sportsbook, you are missing out. Circa Sportsbook. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, there was this place in downtown Las Vegas called the Vegas Club. A great place, like a great old casino from back in the day. And then Derek Stevens, what they had done was they were trying to put a Walgreens in this Las Vegas club. And it's right across from the Golden Gate, which Derek Stevens and his brother own. And he's like, no, we're not doing that. So he asked the Tamaris Group, can I just buy it from you? He bought it. Him, Dave Rossborough, and the crew, like they took a tour around, looked at the bones of the building, thought about refurbishing it. And they said, you know what? We're going to do something that we haven't had the ability to do. And they tore it down all the way down to the ground, built the Circa. The Circa Swim is an incredible place. If you're going to be in Las Vegas, and it's a great place to host a fantasy draft, watch a game, do anything like that. If you're looking for something to do to start the season, you're like, let's take a road trip to Las Vegas. Circa Swim is the place to be. Now, I do want to talk about one thing. Now, a couple of things that stood out to me on Thursday night's game. Oh, well, I'll start with a negative. And again, it's a small thing. But we're watching the play and we're watching the defense, and I don't know. It seemed a little. I know that listen, CJ Stroud's not playing. You're not going to go out there and put some exotic looks or anything like that. The defense still seems a little too passive. And I swear to goodness, if I ever see a defensive end drop back in coverage again, I'm going to lose my mind. That'll be something I want to ask Matt Eberflus about. Like, can we stop putting defensive ends in coverage? Like, the offensive players are way too good. If we go down to Houston in week 2 and we've got Austin Booker trying to guard Tank Dell, I'm gonna be very upset. I'm not gonna be having a good time. I'm not gonna enjoy that at all. Like, enough with the defensive linemen in coverage. Last year, once they tried to cover David Njoku with a defensive tackle or defensive, whatever it was, like, that should have been the end of it. Like, that, it was a good idea. We're done. It's like going out and playing golf, and you're like, I'm going to try a flop shot, and then you skull one into the water. That should be the end of that. Like, we shouldn't think about that anymore. Like, let's take that out of our repertoire. As a matter of fact, leave the 60-degree wedge at home. We don't need it. Don't do that anymore. Let's leave our linemen on the line. I don't want to see it again. And again, it is preseason, and I shouldn't get too worked up. But at the same time, I don't want to see that again. We're running around way too much. Just, that's the most frustrating thing, is I don't want to see that. I know. And again, we're on the cusp. We're on the cusp of a great season for the Chicago Bears. Saw that comment there a second ago. We're on the cusp of a great season for the Chicago Bears, and I don't want to be negative. Ganja Man 420, yeah, brah. Oh, dude, we're on the cusp of a great season. Oh, it's gonna be so cool. No, we are. I'm really ready for it, but we got to stop. We got to stop with the defensive linemen on out in coverage. Okay. Also, I do want to say another thing too. I want to talk about Manta sleep, and I got to tell you now, oh gosh, it is this Manta sleep. I got a sleep mask from these folks. It's the only mask designed and optimized for the deepest possible sleep in any environment. 100% blackout for deeper sleep. And it's so adjustable. It's so comfortable. Like, it is great. Now, a couple of months, about a year ago, I had a sleep mask. My daughter and I had sleep masks, and it's a cheap one. You know, whenever you go to the dollar store or some place like that and get a sleep mask, like, you get what you pay for. Like, if you buy a compression sleeve from the Dollar Tree, like, it's not going to be great. Manta Sleep has these incredible sleep masks, which are so comfortable. I used to have trouble. Like, I used to never be able to sleep on planes. I slapped this bad boy on. We landed midway, and people are waking me up like, hey, let's go. I love it so much. And another thing too, like, I have the watch, the smartwatch that has all the sleep monitors. Like, you can tell when you're in deep sleep and you're not in deep sleep. And ever since I started using this sleep mask, my deep sleep numbers have gone way up. Yeah, I'm a fantasy dork. I'm a fantasy football dork. I keep track of my sleeping stats. That's what I do. I can't not do that kind of stuff. But check this out. If you go to Manta Sleep, if you go to their website, use the code SICKBEARS, you'll get 10% off of your own sleep mask. And I implore you, if you have trouble sleeping, you want to go out and try one of these sleep masks. Now, let's talk about the good things that happened on Thursday night, and let's talk about Collin Johnson and Brett Rypien. First of all, I got to say this. Stop. Like, we don't need the challenge process in the preseason game. Okay, D'Amico Ryans, like, we get it. You were the coach of the year, I believe, last season. What are you trying to prove? Who cares? You know what? You could actually be taking money away from this young man who is just out there trying to earn a roster spot, and you're challenging him. Like, no, let him have his moment. Like, let him do his thing. Like, don't cost this guy any money by going out there. Like, he was actually very impressive. And this is a player who last season was with the New York Giants. And it's so funny to me because the Giants are hurting for wide receiver help. Like, they're looking for anybody who can catch a football. And Collin Johnson comes out here, has a wonderful game. He has 2 touchdowns, wide open. They also, they called back one of his catches, but he's also a great jump ball guy. Like, that was the most impressive. The touchdowns were fine. Like, it's okay. Like, it's cool. It's fun. But the jump balls, like, going up there and getting those contested catches, getting those 50-50 balls, like, there is a real opportunity for him to find a way onto the roster if he continues to play this way. And it's weird too, because I remember back in the day when Victor Cruz first made a splash. I think it was a Hall of Fame game too. The first time we ever saw Victor Cruz out of UMass, he was wearing number 3, which back in the day, like wide receivers were just starting to get into wearing numbers in the teens. So usually if you're wearing number 3, you're not going to make the club. And he didn't his first year. I think he ended up getting hurt. He might have tore something in his name. But now when you see a wide receiver wearing a number in the 80s, you're like, oh, this guy's not going to be long for camp. Like back in the day, if you were wearing a number in the 80s, you were probably sticking around for camp. But but nowadays things have changed. If you're a good wide receiver, you're wearing like number 13 or whatever it is, 12, 10, whatever. When you're wearing 80, it's like, oh, is this guy on the bubble? But Collin Johnson looked really good. And I was really impressed with his ability to go up there and get the football and win those contested catches. And that's one of the things that we're going to have to pay attention to moving forward. Now, Velus Jones Jr. did not dress this evening. Was really hoping to get a chance with him, get a chance to see him, especially with the new dynamic rules on the kickoff. I don't know about you. I don't know if anybody was really impressed with the dynamic rules. Like, I don't know. Like, it was fun. It was goofy. Ultimately, I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, do we really need to, I don't know. I feel like sometimes we try too hard with these rules. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, we're doing this. Just do the kickoffs. Let's go back to kickoffs. Like Devin Hester's in the crowd watching this. Don't besmirch him with all these goofy gadgets. But Collin Johnson looked really good. And Brett Rypien actually was out there throwing the football pretty well. Tyson Bagent got some work, and Roshan Johnson looked really good too. Oh, the fantasy enthusiasts are going to be out with Roshan Johnson, or not out, but like on Roshan Johnson because he looked really good. And also the kid, Cam Akers, looked pretty good for the Houston Texans as well. So there were some things. And Brett Rypien looked like the kind of guy that's, okay, serviceable, veteran quarterback. Now, obviously, you're going to carry 3 quarterbacks. We have an undrafted free agent who wasn't really given much of a chance. I really thought he was going to get a real opportunity to go out there and showcase himself, but they really were locked in on Brett Rypien and letting him go out there and really kind of prove like, hey, he'll probably end up being the 3rd quarterback. That's one of the things that I like what the Chicago Bears have done. Like we talked about what the mistakes were with Mitch Trubisky and Justin Fields. One of the many mistakes was having a guy like Mike Glennon or Andy Dalton out there challenging and doing whatever. They've eliminated all of that. And now they brought in guys who like Tyson Bagent's not going to challenge for the number 1 spot. Brett Rypien looks like a serviceable veteran. He'll not be drafting on game days, but somebody who can be in the room. Emergency quarterback, love it. Looked great. Made some great passes. I know that Shane Waldron wasn't really out there like trying to put out the best schemes, but I'm like, okay, like Bears offense was moving. Like there was really no like apprehension of watching. You're like, hey, this looks like a functional NFL offense, which we hope to see, and we'll probably see a little bit more as Caleb Williams starts getting involved in the preseason. And that was the thing too. Like they were talking about Caleb Williams getting between 45, 55 snaps this preseason. So for anybody who was upset like myself, who would have liked to have seen Caleb Williams go out there, we're looking at about 60 snaps to play over the next 3 games. And I anticipate them working him in slowly in week 1 of the preseason. Week 1. This actually counts as week 0. Week 1 of the preseason game number 2, probably a little bit more. And what I would love to see Caleb play a half in preseason 3, but that is something I'll be able to ask the coach himself when I see him on Tuesday. So in any event, I think it was fun. Like it's great to see football being back. It's great to see the Bears out there. It's great to be there as a part of Hall of Fame weekend, to see Devin Hester going out there, getting into the Hall of Fame, Steve Mongo McMichael getting the recognition that he deserves. And of course, Julius Peppers, who played for the Bears. But in any event, it's a great weekend. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We have so much to look forward to this season. This is just a small taste. So I want to thank everybody here for coming in, checking out, hanging out for a little bit. I will be back next week from Bears camp. So until that time, Sammy, go ahead and play us out and bear down.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.